And thank you, Denise, for the invitation and the introduction. And I'm really honored to be with you all tonight. And I'm happy about your interest in my story. And I hope that I can tell you some encouraging things. And I would like to take you with me on my personal journey. And as you might have seen in the announcement and just heard in the introduction, I wear several professional hats. My background is in microbiology, engineering, and right now I'm a public health PhD student. And I am also an analog astronaut with the Austrian Space Forum. And it doesn't matter if you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain that at the end. But in addition to that, as you already heard, and I think that is what somewhat qualifies me to talk to you tonight, I guess, is that I'm also mother to 3 daughters, and they are 6, 10, and 12 years old right now. As a start to my talk, I would like to share with you a question I get asked in almost every interview that I give in my capacity as an analog astronaut. And that is, what does your family say to you being away on a mission? And as you can see in this picture of our class of 2019, I am the only woman in the team. So there's generally a lot of interest about that fact as well. And you see here the title a big German newsletter had last year, Mama auf Mars Mission, which, as you can guess, translates to Mom on Mars Mission. And I have to say that in the beginning, I was annoyed about this focus and those kind of questions. And I used to smile and deflect and be a little bit annoyed that I wasn't called public health expert or microbiologist on Mars mission or something like that. But I have come to realize that it's a valid question and that people are really interested in my answer. And by now, I think that if I can use my position to show other women that it is indeed possible to have kids and a career in STEM or otherwise, then I don't mind answering those questions anymore. But let's take a step back and start at the beginning. How did I get to where I am today? And I try to make it short, even though that's not so easy, as my career path is a rather winding one. The girl on the right is me at age 6, when I broke my arm ice skating down a hill, even though my mom told me not to do it. And I grew up with my brother, who is only 1 year younger than me, in the former GDR. And we were pretty much roaming our neighborhood, and I totally was what you would call a tomboy. And my parents are both engineers, electrical engineers. And as long as I can remember, they were both working full-time and pretty much sharing household and family duties. And I tell you that as a frame for my view on partnerships and parenting growing up. So other than the kids that were asked in this rather randomly selected survey on the left side, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I still kind of don't. You can see that some of the girls, but even more of the boys, said astronaut was one of their dream jobs later in life. That was definitely never on my list. I wanted to do something with animals, but other than that, I had no clue because I was just interested in too many things. And I did not have any specific big heroine or role model or anything growing up. But I did have a lot of women like my own mother and my grandmothers and other women around me that never questioned my right to have it all. And since I realized early in my life that unfortunately that is not true for many, many other women worldwide, I have always been very appreciative of that fact. In preparation for this talk, I thought about what would be interesting to you about my different studies and jobs and life experiences. But all of that is on LinkedIn, or you can ask me afterwards if you're interested. So instead of rattling off a list of high school and year abroad and studying and job experiences and so on, I decided to speak about 2 crucial turning points in my career and what part my family played each time. I started out fairly ordinary, I think. I did a master's degree in microbiology. I got married. I had a kid. I had my first job at an environmental lab, had a second child, and I had my parents and parents-in-law living close by. And I also had daycare for kids from age 1 in walking distance. And in Eastern Germany, it's still fairly normal to go back to work after 1 year. And if you stay at home longer, you're even sometimes viewed as kind of lazy. While in the western part of Germany, as some of you might know, some people call you a bad mom for being selfish if you bring your child to kindergarten before it turns 3. And I am speaking from personal experience here. Anyway, we are getting closer to the first turning point for me. During my year at home with my second child, I felt unsatisfied with not using my brain and not learning anything new. So I decided to enroll at university again. And I started a second master's degree in engineering for environmental technology. But after going back to work with late night and weekend shifts and studying in every free minute, and on the weekends I wasn't working, as well as juggling 2 little kids and the household and relationships to family and friends for almost 2 years, I felt that it had gotten too much. I had a lot of support from my family, but I was sometimes crying at night and not feeling well. So after long weeks of doubts and fear of the unknown, I finally quit my job without having anything else. But in the end, it turned out to be a very good decision. I was unemployed for only 1 month, in which I finished my degree, and then I got a new job at a public health department with way more family-friendly working hours. And of course, I felt that the reason for the situation, at least partly, was my family, because family and studying and the job was just a little bit too much. But almost everybody around me was living a similar life. And there were other factors to my decision, like a lack of a learning curve at work and rather low payment in my job, that also had a big influence on my decision. And looking back, I rather feel like my family gave me a reason to quit a job that didn't fit me anymore anyway. And maybe that is because I see things positive all the time and try to make the best out of every situation. But sometimes being, framed in or fenced in by circumstances like having a family, and you can change that, make you decide things, and it helps you to decide because you don't have too many choices. And I sometimes feel like that helps me a little bit. So for the second point in time that I want to tell you about, we have to move forward a few years. By now I have had my third child, and I started my PhD in public health, still working 35 hours a week as team leader at the public health department. And I guess you can spot a pattern by now. People often ask me why I do so many things, and I haven't even told you about any of my hobbies. And my answer is that it is possible to be totally steeped in work and still feel unsatisfied. So I try to combine different things, work and family and hobbies, to build a life that fits me best. But back to the situation, my learning curve had flattened out at work. And when I read an ad in my local newspaper that the Austrian Space Forum was looking for a new class of analog astronauts, I immediately checked out the website and I realized that I fit the requirements. And I knew that this was something where I could combine all my different interests and that I really had to try. And the selection process was really tough, as we were checked for our physical and mental fitness, our ability to cope with stress, to lead a team, to fit into different roles, our communication skills, our creativity, stuff like that. And being selected out of a big group of amazing people has given me a lot of confidence, in a way that, for example, every time I encounter a new task that I haven't done before, for example, set up a local WLAN, then I tell myself that the people at the ÖWF have chosen me, so they know that I can do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have chosen me. So I just do it. I just try it. And of course, most of the time I can do it. At least I have been able to do everything that was thrown my way so far. And this feeling of trust in my abilities is something that I really treasure and that I try to give my daughters and other people around me as well. I'm not telling them that they can do everything that they want to do because maybe they can't, but I'm telling them that I support them and I trust in their abilities and that they should always at least try. And you would think that my family did not play such a big role in this point of my career, but I think that it totally did, because all the people in the selection had impressive CVs and amazing professional backgrounds. But years of juggling family and job and having many different roles in the course of a day, mediating conflicts and organizing schedules and keeping sane under stressful circumstances obviously honed a lot of the soft skills that are needed to become an analog astronaut. So I think that I was selected in big parts thanks to my family. And looking back, what factors do I think facilitated my being able to have a career and a family? Some I have already touched upon, like my upbringing and my mindset regarding women working as engineers, for example, as normal. Then I had my kids rather early, starting at 26, so I can invest more time in my career now that they are older and don't need me as much anymore. A lot of it was also plain hard work on my side, paired with some luck, I guess. And the support I have from my parents and my in-laws definitely helped as well. Then I am living in a country and a town with good childcare facilities. My employers were also rather family friendly, especially the time I spent in public service. And the chart that you see on the right side shows the percentage of the corresponding age group of kids below the age of 3 in healthcare or childcare, sorry, in Germany and in Saxony, where I'm from. When you see that Saxony has a fairly high percentage, especially now, 2 years ago, 2017 or 3 already, it's more than 50%. And of course, that helps a lot if you want to have a job where you are working full-time or almost full-time. And as I told you, I had times in my life where my focus was on having children and others where the focus was on my own development. But most of the time, I did both things at once. And the proverb that you see is an African one, which says, it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that is so true. And my village consists of my partner, our parents, kindergarten, school, and a lot of friends and people in our lives. Then you see a picture here of my daughters. And thanks to them, I would say that I am more confident, more courageous, more grounded, better organized, more motivated and experienced, better connected, informed, and a lot of other things that I would not have been without them. And they give my life purpose and joy, and also cost a lot of money, time, and energy that I would always, that I could put in other things. But if I could choose, I would have them again. I try to be a good example for them, but I want to be honest with you because I think that is a very important thing. Of course, I also have loads of doubts and I'm sometimes scared to make mistakes because somebody forgot to hand me the manual at the hospital when I took them home. And I think that next to having role models that we can look up to, we also need real women who are not afraid to be honest. Because yes, it is exhausting. And yes, I'm not perfect. And there are situations where you have to choose between being there for your kid's birthday party or going to a conference that can be crucial for your career. And yes, I do sometimes think that I would have had more of a career without them. But while I'm pretty sure I would have had a different career, I'm not so sure if it would have been a better one. or if I would be happier now. To sum it up, I would not presume to speak for women in general, and I am very aware of how lucky I have been in some aspects of my career and my personal life. But I would still like to make some general points that I think are important. First of all women are super women. Secondly, don't compare yourself to others. You have to find the life that fits best for you and support others in their choices instead of talking them down. And if you want kids, that's fine. If you don't, that's your decision. And if you want to go back to work after 3 months, go ahead. If you want to stay at home till your kid is 7, that should be your choice as well. What we need is being the wind under each other's wings, as the saying goes, and a framework that enables free choice in these matters. Then another point is role models. If you have an idea, spread it. If you know something, teach it. And if you can help someone, do it. On the other side, if you have questions, then ask them. Don't be afraid to contact somebody you find interesting. Don't fret about the perfect wording of your initial message or stuff like that. At worst, you won't get an answer, but most of the time people are willing to give you information or make a connection or answer your questions. The same goes for mentors. Be a mentor and find a mentor. There are so many great networks out there. Just get involved. And personally, I think you should raise your voice. And of course, if you're already juggling a job and career and kids and family, then maybe you don't have so much energy left to engage in politics or stuff like that. But I think the old public health thing that you should think global and act local is true here as well. And if you, I don't know, get your local kindergarten to open for half an hour longer in the afternoon, then you will change the lives of many families in your area. So it's small things that you can help change that will make it better for other people and yourself. In closing, I would like to tell you my answer to the initial question I told you about. What does my family say to my being away on a mission? My daughters are in turn indifferent, annoyed, and proud of me, depending on how much time I spend away from home and how many people are asking them about me. They are really independent, strong girls, and I like to think that I had some influence there. Of course, they don't like me being away for longer periods of time overly much, but they are used to it, and the time I do spend at home is great because since my working hours are flexible, I sometimes think that I spend more time with them than many other mothers who have to work shifts and longer hours. And then what I would like to say is that my children have a great father who's my best friend, and we are a great team raising them together. He has always supported me wholeheartedly in all my endeavors, and I am very aware of how very lucky I am to have built this family with him. We each have our own lives and try to give each other enough space to follow our separate paths, but we share responsibilities and make it up as we go along and raise the kids together as best as we can and always have each other's backs or back. Yeah, and with that, I'm at the end of my story so far, and I hope you heard a thing or two that you can relate to or that may even help you. And in closing, I would like to show you a short video. It's about 4 minutes on what it means to be an analog astronaut. And I'm just going to try how the link works. And afterwards, I'm looking forward to your comments and questions and the discussion. So.
Today we're very pleased to have Anika Mehlis with us. Anika is an analog astronaut. Don't ask me what that is, because she's going to tell us.
Being an analog astronaut means that I and the other people in my team are astronauts that train for analog missions on Earth. And I'm with the Austrian Space Forum, which is based in Innsbruck in Austria. But despite the name Austrian Space Forum, it's a really international organization. There are people from all over Europe with different backgrounds that volunteer before working there. And the Austrian Space Forum is doing analog missions every few years, and they develop spacesuit simulators to test and prepare for future missions. The focus is on Mars. Some focus on isolation or human factors like psychology and how you work as a team. Oman, for example, last year they spent 4 weeks in the desert. They were to Morocco, the desert there. They were in the Dachstein caves in Austria, that's ice caves high up in the mountains, to see how, for example, the spacesuit simulator would do in an underground environment, because there are supposed to be lava tubes and other caves on Mars. The next mission is going to be in October and November of 2020, and it's going to be in the Negev desert in Israel. I just read it in my local newspaper. There was a little ad saying the Austrian Space Forum was looking for new analog astronauts, and I read it and I was like checking out the website and oh, this is cool, I have to try. I was surprised that I got the email telling me that I was selected as one of 30 people, I think, out of more than 100 applicants from all over Europe. We went to a medical facility where we were tested for lung capacity and like blood oxygen levels under stress. That was crazy. And also a lot of team tests, communications, psychological interview. The others were so crazy talented people, and they had so many PhDs and different backgrounds. I really had imposter syndrome. I got a call shortly before Christmas, actually, which was a nice present, that I made it and that I was to be one of 8 people in the new class of 2019. So I'm the only woman, unfortunately. We get trained in first aid, fire extinguishing. We had road bike training, geology lessons, planetology, orbital mechanics. Team is the most important thing. Putting on the spacesuit simulator, that's a perfect example. It takes 2 to 3 hours to put on the suit, and you can't do it by yourself. The physical aspects, because the spacesuit simulator that we work with is really heavy. It weighs up to 50 kilos. I think that might be one of the reasons why there were not more women selected. Got to dock the Soyuz onto the ISS in a simulator. We got to steer the Soyuz capsule, and they had Russian radio chatter in the background to confuse you a little bit. And that was really difficult, but great fun. If you have the right input and the right role models, you are in the right place to inspire others and help others along. So yeah, that's kind of my takeaway.
Analog astronauts are people or astronauts that train on Earth and conduct missions on Earth to prepare for future missions. So we, the Austrian Space Forum, where I'm an analog astronaut at, has missions every 2 to 3 years. The last one was in 2018 in Oman in the desert for 4 weeks. And the next one is going to be in Israel in the Negev desert this year in October and November for 4 weeks. They also develop a spacesuit simulator. And with that, we live in a habitat, and then if we want to go outside, then we have to wear the spacesuit, and we conduct a series of experiments, microbiology, geology, human factors, medicine, stuff like that, robotics. And the results are the teams that are from different universities all over the world that give in their experiments, and then we conduct them, and the results are given back to them so they can write their papers and everything. Exactly. Yeah, and you can take a look at the video later on, and if you have any questions regarding that, you can also contact me. Yeah.